What's up, everyone, and welcome back to Journey to You. I'm Courtney, and in today's episode, we're going to be talking about friendships and navigating friendships as an adult. I definitely started recording without turning the mic on, so there's that. I'm just really excited about today's episode. Before we get into it, again, I have to say thank you to everyone for all of the sweet messages that I received after the last couple of episodes. Of course, very heavy topics, and I never like to hear that I have these things in common with anybody. I know how tough things can be, but at the same time, I definitely feel like a sense of comfort knowing that I'm not alone. Of course, if I can be of any help, please do not hesitate to reach out. So before we get into my tips about making friends as an adult and navigating and maintaining friendships, I want to start off by sharing a little bit of my background, just so you guys understand where I'm coming from on the topic. For a while on Twitter, there was like this trend, I guess. The idea was that if you didn't have a squad of women in your corner, then somehow there was something wrong with you. And that was something that I took a lot of issue with because I was one of those people. For a while, I didn't have that core group of girlfriends. And as a Black woman and as a Black girl growing up, you watched the show Girlfriends, and it's something that I think many of us wish to have in life. And so to see that take floating around on Twitter so often, it definitely struck a nerve because it's not something that I necessarily felt like I had control over. So on that note, I remember there being another thread. The person was mentioning that sometimes people don't have that core group of friends for many reasons. And one of the reasons being that some of us growing up were either scarred by some of our interpersonal relationships, making it hard to navigate friendships with women in adulthood and even in adolescence, or just simply growing up without having the knowledge about how to navigate those friendships, period. So growing up, as I mentioned, I watched Girlfriends, and before even venturing off into friendship, I really wanted a close sisterhood in my life. So while I was raised sort of as an only child within my household, I do have siblings. And so I have two older sisters that I always wanted to have a close-knit relationship with, but unfortunately that just wasn't the case. I think that kind of set the tone for the rockiness that I experienced in my friendships with other women growing up. So having that void prevented me from opening up in a lot of my friendships because I was just afraid of them not working out, and it made for me being very detached. So that void and its effect on my relationships is a realization that I would come to later on in life. But before coming to that realization, I didn't realize that I even had a void because I have a lot of cousins. I love my cousins to death, and they have shown me unconditional love for my whole life. I mean, I feel like they are the ones who really taught me unconditional love aside from my friends. All of the love that I had been looking for in the wrong places was right here. And then in high school, I didn't really get that sisterhood feeling from the people that I think I wanted it from. It took a little bit of time for me to feel comfortable in my own skin. And then from there, I was able to connect with people that were on the same wavelength as me. There's another transition, and now I had to move away to go to school. When I moved away to go to school, I moved to a city where I had family, which was awesome. But at the same time, I was nervous about making new friends because I had had many experiences that didn't really work out in the past. And as a Black woman, I felt like it was important for me to make friends with other Black women and other women of color. And that was really high on my list, but I just wasn't really sure how I was going to go about it. So I ended up pledging for this sorority. I got two of my best friends out of that experience. They really turned things around for me. And again, when I think of unconditional love, they pop up in my head too. And so we're coming up to my more recent years, which we'll get into a little bit later. Before I go there, I do want to speak about the pyramid of friendships because I think it's important that everybody understand that you don't have to refer to everybody as your friend. I think that sometimes people are uncomfortable labeling people as like an acquaintance or casual friend, but that's nothing to shy away from. I think with time and based on the purpose of the friendship, there can be room for growth, but not everyone's going to be your best friend overnight, and that's okay. I think people like me who have dealt with abandonment wounds over the years want so badly to have good friends that we end up not being ourselves in certain friendships, or we just keep our guard up, and again, that stops us from making friendships that are long lasting or ones that are anything deeper than surface level. And there is a literal friendship pyramid that exists. So you have strangers, then you have acquaintances, then you have casual friends, close friends, and at the top you have your intimate friendships. And that's okay. So wherever your friends fit in, it doesn't mean that you like or respect one more than the other, but it's totally okay to have friends that fit in any category. They don't all have to be your intimate friendships, and they don't all have to be kept at the acquaintance level either. So just be mindful of that, and just take it easy. I think that's probably a message to like old me, because I didn't want to mess up my friendships as I put myself out there and as I made new friends. But it's just important to stay grounded. And I feel like there's a spectrum in life for almost everything. So people are going to fit in some categories more than they do others. And sometimes that's better. And I think especially as we get older, it's important to stay flexible when it comes to friendships, because life is happening to all of us at the same time. We all have different obligations, there's schedules. So I think it's important to go with the flow. But on that note, you definitely want to be clear about why you are making these friendships and what you're looking for in them. I know it's important that my friends are trustworthy. I need people that have a growth mindset and ones whose values align well with mine. So overall, I feel like friendship should also be held in very high regard. I feel like it's just as valuable as any other relationship that we have in life. Twitter will tell you that rekindling friendships as adults is not the way to go, because it won't be the same. I'm speaking from experience when I say that it's totally been worth it. I had a conversation with myself and I just said to myself, like, what if it's better than it was before? It's definitely not going to be the same. We're different people now. There has been a gap. It went so well. And if I had listened to all of the fear that I was experiencing, we wouldn't be here now. I will cry, you guys. But I'm so proud of myself for taking the leap, and I'm so grateful to them for keeping an open heart. And so there is hope. And I had to also be honest with myself and be open to the possibility of things not working out. So now we can talk about making new friendships in adulthood in the absence of organized activities. Because as I mentioned, I met two of my best friends in the sorority, but I'm no longer in undergrad and I don't participate in any activities at my current school. And that begs the question, how do you meet friends in the absence of organized activities? So I have 3 pieces of advice. 2 won't be new, and the first 2 go hand in hand. So the first one is to get to know yourself, and the second is to get clear about your needs and your motive for making friends. I think it just became easier for me once I solidified who I was as a person. And of course, there's always room for change, but like I needed to get clear about who I was at my core and about my values so that I could engage in healthy friendships. I think growing up, you just kind of go off of vibes and common interests, but as I get older, it becomes more apparent that I'm looking for a deeper kind of friendship, one that's a little bit more mature, still fun, but definitely rooted in my values. So those are the first 2 pieces of advice. And the last one is to put yourself out there. I deal with anxiety, as you guys know. And so the idea of making new friends was very daunting. And I'm grateful for the experience that I had in the sorority because I was still shy, but it kind of encouraged me to put myself out there and to open up to my friends a little bit. And I was super, super uncomfortable. Like they can definitely speak to that, but I did my best at the time. And I mean, they stuck around for some reason. I should also mention that I moved back home, and so my friends are not in the same city as me. But in the absence of any sort of organization or activities, I was kind of concerned about how I would go about meeting more friends. So the rest of my friends that I've made in the past couple of years, I met at work or I met via the internet. You want to be safe on the internet as usual. Definitely follow your gut. That's always important as well. I know that with everything going on, it seems like making friends will be even more difficult, but honestly, social media has connected me with some of the most fantastic people, and I'm so happy. Some that live in my city, some that don't live in my city. But the bottom line is I put myself out there and I was genuine and I allowed things to happen organically. Whether it be starting off with compliments or if you see someone doing something good, something that you admire, let them know. I feel like compliments are a great place to start, but just make sure they're genuine. It'll become a lot easier for you to connect with other people when you're operating from a place place of authenticity. People can feel the difference. And the last thing I want to speak about is self-love. I guess I have more tips than I initially thought. I really feel like your relationship with self is going to set the tone for all of your relationships. So continue getting to know yourself, accepting yourself, loving yourself. I honestly feel like my friendships are a reflection of my heart, and I tweet about it often because it's so true, and they set the bar so high. And it's not just about what they do for me, but it's also because they are open and willing to allow me to support them and to love them. They're often very happy to have my support, and it's just lots of love going around. But it definitely started with me learning to love and accept myself so that I could open up and allow their love to pour in. And so now we just go back and forth and we just love each other and support each other, and I couldn't be more grateful. So that's it for my episode on friendship, you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.